30 years ago, for cursed swords that could manipulate people's hearts. Rampaging in the martial arts world of the East Sea, over 100 sects have either been destroyed or declined. The number of innocent people who died in this catastrophe is countless. Heroes in the East Sea joined forces to seal this creature, paying a heavy sacrifice. Nowadays, members of the 4 major sects have been killed successively in a cruel and mysterious manner. Rumors of the rebirth of the cursed sword are widespread. Is there really a cursed sword? Who can quell the disaster caused by the cursed sword, this time, and maintain peace in the world? Today, I will introduce a new manga to everyone. Journey of the Hidden Edge. At the beginning of the Central Earth War, Lord Yu of the Thicket Origin Demon Sect unleashed the legendary 4 cursed swords. Heroes from the East Sea put aside their differences and collaborated eagerly, aiming to destroy the cursed swords. One of the cursed swords is called Dark Convergence. A shiver of shadowed wind stirs the air, as crows wail beneath the heavens of a broken world. The man is bare-chested, his eyes gleaming with a fierce light. He tightly grips a single sword, moving like a walking corpse. At this moment, he is no longer the former senior brother Yi. He is now just a sword corpse. And in his hand is the legendary cursed sword, Dark Convergence. Everyone on the scene rushed forward, wielding wooden sticks and wooden knives, but unable to restrain the sword corpse at all. Such power is truly terrifying. Maid 17 Tang can't help but be a little scared. And the person behind patted 17 Tang's shoulder, claiming to be able to fully hold back the Dark Convergence sword corpse. Let 17 hurry to prepare. Perhaps this is the only chance to seal the cursed sword. Everyone present has already given up on a way out. It is inevitable that they will perish together with the cursed sword. The crowd surged forward again, and the sword corpse assumed a fighting stance. The realm of the boundless sword slipped out of their hand, matching the techniques of the people on the scene. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But arriving ahead of schedule, everyone sustained serious injuries one after another. The only one who might be faster than Sword Corpse is Sword Corpse's junior sister Arkalur. Just saw a shadow flash by. In the blink of an eye, she had already arrived behind Sword Corpse. But Sword Corpse's speed was even faster than imagined. With a few swift turns, Arkalur was severely injured in an instant. At this moment, Arkalur finally realized that senior brother Yi in front of them was no longer in this world. At the moment of severe injury, Arkalur fought desperately using the silk wrapping hand technique. The hands were like snakes, tightly entwining around Sword Corpse's arms, tears streaming down. The leading man seized the opportunity and swiftly flashed behind Sword Corpse. Strength rose from the ground, a move called Dragon-Shaped Sword Energy pierced through Sword Corpse. Unreserved force shook Arkalur, who also spat out a mouthful of blood. But the Sword Corpse did not fall, as unexpected. In return, the realm of the boundless sword unexpectedly used the same move. Dragon-shaped sword energy instantly enveloped the man. The man was unable to dodge in time. Relying on his unique understanding of martial arts technique, he directly faced this strike. Fortunately, the Sword Corpse was already a sped force. This strike was successfully resolved. The Sword Corpse also fell to the ground and could not get up. The cursed sword held in the man's hand began to erode his vitality. Want to turn the man into the next Sword Corpse? The man quickly shouted, 17 Tang. Hands on! 17 Tang didn't say a word and started moving the machinery. The wooden cage that had been prepared in advance covered the man and 17 Tang inside. The man forced himself to stay awake and said, although you don't understand martial arts and have not touched the cursed sword, but we dare not claim to have mastered all the conditions for the Dark Convergence transfer. To prevent it from possessing you, escape from this place and cause trouble again. Therefore, to destroy others is to destroy oneself. In the face of righteousness, Carpenter 17 Tang respectfully bows. He has long put life and death aside. At this moment, The carpenter seems more like a hero. 17 Tang pulled down the mechanism without hesitation. Bamboo arrows flew in from all directions. The two inside the cage were pierced. The chivalrous person and the carpenter perished here. A massive boulder then fell down. Bury the bodies of the two underground. Use their lives to seal the cursed sword dark convergence. Time flies. The heroes who once personally participated in the crusade against the cursed sword are now few and far between in this world. As people gradually forget the fear and pain brought by the cursed sword in the flow of history. Several mysterious murder cases. The rumor of the cursed sword's resurrection shrouded EC 30 years ago. The deadly weapon, cursed sword, rampaged through EC according to the legend. Heroes of EC unite and work together. Countless sacrifices were made before the demonic energy could be wiped out. As people gradually forget the fear and pain brought by the cursed sword in the river of history, several bizarre murders took place. The rumor of the cursed sword's resurrection once again shrouded EC. Red Mountain of the EC, the Shadow Glow City in the daylight. A boy brought back good tea and ginseng to help his elders nourish their bodies. The boy has lived here for 12 years. Returning here makes him feel doubly secure. The boy's name is Pierce Pei, the son of a Restoration Army veteran. The old man at home makes a living by forging horseshoes. He is not very well received in this town, where forging is highly respected. At the age of 5, our father sold a donkey and sent Pierce Pei to Shadow Glow City, where Pierce Pei aspired to earn enough dowry money for his sister. Father carried a piece of cast iron around, searching for opportunities everywhere. But because Pierce Pei was petite, he encountered obstacles everywhere. Fortunately, he was taken in by seventh uncle, who had only one arm. He helped out in the rundown shack at Longevity Garden. 12 years passed in the blink of an eye. Recently, Pierce Pei was transferred to the Department of Reverence, and his income has also increased. Few people know that seventh uncle is highly skilled in forging weapons. This is because the others in Shadow Glow City are all fearful of this place. It is said that there are ghosts creating trouble. The rumors are so vivid and scary that no one is willing to come. This is probably because of seventh Uncle Scar and the strange Uncle Woodchicken. Uncle Woodchicken is strange and dull. He only shows signs of life when playing with Pierce Pei. Uncle Woodchicken's moves are swift and precise. The sound of the knife hitting the firewood is only slightly louder than tearing paper. The firewood didn't even budge. The competition between the two is about who can split the firewood more effectively and make it fly. The two have been playing this game for over a decade. Pierce Pei saw that the wood in front of him had been chopped dozens of times, about to be scattered. It's better to make Uncle Woodchicken happy. Just go ahead and chop it at an angle, then scatter the firewood. Who knew that the firewood had not yet scattered? Uncle Woodchicken stopped halfway with a slash. The firewood split in two, with the top half scattering in all directions. The bottom half, however, was unaffected and stood straight in its original place. Pierce Pei couldn't help but be surprised. Indeed, Uncle Woodchicken lived up to his reputation of accepting defeat gracefully. Seventh uncle led Pierce Pei into the house. This time, Pierce Pei had a task at hand upon his return. Department of Reverence's second manager, Shadow Hung, asked Pierce Pei to retrieve something. Seventh uncle opened the box, and a sword lay quietly inside. The scabbard was 3 fingers wide and almost 4 fingers long, with a brass throat and a sword guard in the shape of bird wings. The sword blade was solid and not flexible. The blade tapered from the guard towards the edge. The width at the throat of the scabbard was originally 3 fingers wide. At the tip of the sword, it is less than 2 fingers wide. If wielded skillfully, it should be able to handle heavyweights with ease, making thrusting attacks convenient. This sword is called Kunwa's Fury. Shadow Hung instructed Pierce Pei to deliver this sword to the second court master, Crimson Clouds, at the Moonlit Water Pavilion. Pierce Pei has never been to Moonlit Water Pavilion. I heard that only female disciples are admitted there, while male visitors can only enter the main hall. And according to what seventh uncle said, the second court master of Moonlit Water is a fierce woman. Before leaving, I advised Pierce Pei not to push himself too hard if he encounters any problems. At that time, Pierce Pei had no idea that this trip to deliver the sword would turn out to be the beginning of a turning point in his destiny. Okay. The heart-wrenching waters of the lake mirror the eternal moon, while the pure maiden sword soars upon the wings of the great Luo immortal dot. Black hair fades to white, like smoke turning to rain, a fleeting moment lost in time, unlike the earthly moonlit water pavilion dot. Two women sit in the pavilion at the center of the lake on the East Sea Road, Moonlit Water Pavilion. The continuous heavy rain for several days made Indigo feel a bit melancholy, as if the sky was falling. Yi Tassel Huang jokingly said, "Is the now fourth most beautiful Indigo girl seeking life and death because she was hurt by a noble and handsome young man? I don't know if it is Pointing Sword, the Palace of Wonder's charming talent, or the little Taoist of sea-viewing Heavenly Gate." The Moonlit Water Pavilion is divided into 4 courtyards. Only the direct disciples of the sect leader can serve as court masters under the acting sect leader. There are only 3 court masters under the acting sect leader, and the 4th courtyard currently has no owner. The relatively promising 4th in line, Emerald Lake, is currently not functioning properly. That day, Emerald Lake rode out of the gate. Yi Tassel Huang and Indigo secretly followed, hoping to see where she was going, but suddenly everything went dark. When they were discovered, only Emerald Lake's beautiful face bore a miserable knife mark. They all said that this was caused by the cursed sword that had wreaked havoc on the martial arts world 30 years ago. Indigo also nodded in agreement. It is said that other sects have also been experiencing tragedies one after another. The sect leader and senior sister have responded to the invitation to attend the alliance meeting of the 4 great sword sects. It is precisely to clarify this matter. During the conversation, Yi Tassel Huang suddenly felt something unusual. I hurriedly turned around, keenly feeling that someone had just appeared. But at this moment, logically speaking, only Yi Tassel Huang, the second court master, and Moonlit Water Pavilion were present. Yi Tassel Huang couldn't help but convince himself that it might have been an illusion. On the other hand, Pierce Pei has arrived at the outer courtyard of Moonlit Water Pavilion with an umbrella. Looking at the elegant characters on the lintel adds a touch of fragrance to this place. After introducing himself as Pierce Pei, he received a warm welcome from the entrance hall steward Elder Ding. Pierce Pei explained his purpose, claiming that the manager had instructed that this sword be delivered in person to the second court master. Kindly inform them of this. I didn't expect that even the entrance hall steward couldn't enter the inner courtyard, and could only wait for the maid to pass on the message. Pierce Pei is playing with an exquisite and delicate teacup. I couldn't help but feel a trace of curiosity about inner courtyard. The wind and rain are still continuous outside the window. Pierce Pei unknowingly fell asleep. It has been so long, and inner courtyard still hasn't replied. And Steward Ding has not returned either. Pierce Pei couldn't help but lift the door curtain and go in search of Steward Ding. Did not think of it. Elder Ding and the servant behind this door unexpectedly both lost their lives. Their bodies are deeply embedded in the wall. This scene left Pierce Pei somewhat at a loss for a moment. This is the first time in Pierce Pei's life that he has encountered a crime scene. He remembers the teachings of seventh uncle. Pierce Pei forced himself to calm down. There was a strange depression in the body in front of him. The fractured ribs are very neat, as if caused by a huge weapon. There are also obvious drag marks on the ground. This once again confirms this point. And the direction of the drag marks leads to inner courtyard. Pierce Pei, immediately making up his mind, no matter what. He must first inform the disciples of Moonlit Water Pavilion of the situation. Perhaps he can save more people. Pierce Pei ventured into the inner courtyard alone. At this time, many disciples are not in the courtyard. For a moment, he doesn't know where to look for people. Just as Pierce Pei was at a loss, a sharp sword emitting a cold light appeared, pressed against Pierce Pei's neck. "Who are you? Who sent you to intrude into Moonlit Water Pavilion?" A woman's voice came from behind. Pierce Pei, who was being held at sword point, quickly confessed the truth, claiming that the sword on her back was Manhwa's fury. "And the person behind her is Moonlit Water Pavilion's second court master. Endless Maple River is bathed in crimson clouds." Okay. The green oak sword reveals its 13 stances, as the endless maple river is bathed in crimson clouds. Beneath brows, like resting arcs, a heroic wind flows with grace, its rhythm as gentle as the slender curve of a willow's waist. After learning of the misunderstanding with Pierce Pei, Crimson Clouds took out a handkerchief and asked him to handle the injury. Pierce Pei, holding the handkerchief, blushed slightly on his cheeks. For a moment, he was incoherent and didn't know where to start. Suddenly, a woman's screams came from the inner courtyard. Crimson Clouds instructed, "You go wait in the entrance hall. Without my orders, you are not allowed to take even half a step in here." After saying this, Crimson Clouds went alone towards the inner courtyard. Pierce Pei gazed affectionately at the handkerchief in his hand. The delicate silk cloth was infused with a hint of warmth and sweetness. Suddenly, he realized that Sword Manhwa's fury was still on his back, the intruder. It should be a huge and hard weapon in use. Manhwa's fury is an extremely powerful sword, now sending the sword over. Perhaps it can be of some help. Pierce Pei groped in the direction of the sound and gradually heard the sound of weapons clashing. At this moment, the second court master was holding a broken sword, facing the murderer alone. A flash of lightning in the air. Vaguely, the murderer appeared to be as burly and robust as a small mountain. Pierce Pei saw clearly. 2 disciples of Moonlit Water had already fallen to the ground, and the huge stone knife in the murderer's hand gave off a deep sense of foreboding. Crimson Clouds also didn't know why the person in front of him had turned into an attacker like this, only vaguely making out words from the murderer's unclear speech. Recognizing the words, "Endless suffering," Crimson Clouds saw the murderer above, leaping down. The iron chains all around emitted a piercing sound. Swinging the enormous blade in hand that was as hard as granite, he was determined to dismember the person in front of him into 1,000 pieces. Crimson Clouds could no longer retreat in order to protect his junior disciples behind him. Clutching the broken sword tightly in both hands, facing the thunderous blow with a posture as delicate as holding a slender willow branch with not even a full grip. I didn't expect that Crimson Clouds could actually block and deflect the force within a short period of time with just this broken sword. Turning defense into offense, forcefully pushed the assailant back several meters. Pierce Pei on the side looked shocked. Is this terrifying power really from a woman? Crimson Clouds pressed on with the attack. Her graceful figure turned into a lingering shadow, directly aiming at the murderer. The broken sword accurately stabbed into the murderer's left eye. The person, like a monster, did not flinch nor evade, reaching out to grab. Grasping the broken sword in hand, Crimson Clouds had no support to borrow in midair. Violently thrown over and pushed back. Fortunately, with agile movements, he executed a backflip and landed steadily on the bridge. The culprit seized the moment when Crimson Clouds landed and launched a sudden attack with a knife. The swift speed left Crimson Clouds no time to dodge, so they had to use their arm to block the broken sword defensively. But the force of this blow was so great that it sent Crimson Clouds along with their body crashing into the center of the pavilion. After smashing through the wall, there was still enough force left that forced Crimson Clouds to spew out a mouthful of blood. Pierce Pei saw that the killer in front of him seemed completely unafraid of pain. The situation was extremely dangerous. Looking around, Pierce Pei spotted 2 small boats. He had an idea. When the 2 men looked at each other, the killer currently had a slight advantage. The terrifying stone knife emitted a faint purple aura. The killer launched an even fiercer attack. The giant sword swirled, making a loud roaring sound. Crimson Cloud dodged the sword after it was swung. The chain, as thick as an arm, lashed out from the blind spot like the crack of a whip, striking with deadly precision. Although Crimson Cloud instinctively dodged, he was still hit on the arm. At this moment, Crimson Cloud also realized that the person in front of him, despite their awkward movements, had skills and techniques in their attacks, not just brute force. As I pondered, the killer once again exploded towards me, raising the knife for a fierce chop. Crimson Clouds has become unavoidable. At this critical moment, Pierce Pei emerged from the water. With sword Kunwa's fury in hand, he stabbed the assailant at the bend of their leg, successfully severing the tendons. Pierce Pei also stepped back to Crimson Cloud's side, ready to fight side by side with them. Okay. Pierce Pei is a hero coming to the rescue, and wants to fight alongside the second court master. My task is to hand the sword over to the second court master. Please have the second court master try this Kunwa's fury. Crimson Clouds took Kunwa's fury, and silently admired Pierce Pei's loyalty. While in a slight daze, a huge black shadow slowly stood up. The murderer actually used chains to bind and support his feet, walking towards Crimson Clouds, and the two of them like a puppet on strings. Crimson Cloud said absent-mindedly, "The murderer is actually Mr. He, who usually delivers goods from 10 miles away. He does odd jobs for our moonlit water pavilion." Many years have passed, but he has never learned any martial arts. It's unclear how he could have become like this, just as Pierce Pei was surprised by this turn of events. The murderer's eyes gleamed with malice as he headed straight towards Pierce Pei to strike. Crimson Clouds blocked using Kunwa's fury. This punch made the two of them fall back a step. The second court master was half crouching and half kneeling, with both hands tightly gripping the handle of Kunwa's fury, which was over 1.5 feet long. Her delicate eyebrows slightly furrowed. Under the drizzle, she appeared even more charming. Crimson Cloud said that the two people on the bridge were disciples of their sect, and they did not die. If you can help them leave first, I would be very grateful. There is another person in the pavilion. I will find a way. Pierce Pei may not be skilled in martial arts, but he is a good swimmer. He naturally agreed to help. At this moment, the murderer raised the stone knife high above his head, spinning it rapidly like a windmill. Fuzzy voices of endless suffering echoed in the ears. The culprit wielded a granite-like deformed giant blade, sweeping it out. It clashed with sword Kunwa's fury, creating a deafening roar. Crimson Cloud's entire body surged with energy, causing the clothes to billow with powerful winds, and their thick hair scattered in the air. Tell Pierce Pei to leave as soon as possible. Staying here will only be a hindrance to oneself. Pierce Pei naturally understands this fact. He won't drag his feet. Upon seeing Pierce Pei leave, Crimson Cloud secretly made up his mind. How can we allow foreign enemies to invade our moonlit water pavilion? Only the enchanting shadows of Crimson Clouds flickered. The cold gleam of the sword shadows rustled like the wind blowing through maple leaves. The powerful strikes of sword Kunwa's fury, using the 13 stances of the green maple, penetrate the robust body of the assailant with unmatched force. Pierce Pei, who was watching from afar, felt a sudden shock, truly deserving of being the second court master of Moonlit Water Pavilion. Taking the opportunity, Pierce Pei quickly picked up Yi Tassel Huang and Indigo to escape. At this point, Crimson Clouds had a slight advantage. Secretly amazed that this Kunwa's fury is indeed a creation of Shadowglow's city. It perfectly fits his 13 stances of the green maple. This move is a sword technique created by Crimson Clouds, then copied into the Moonlit Water Sword Manual within the sect. Because this sword technique is quite damaging to the sword, they requested Shadowglow City to forge a suitable sword. A powerful enemy invaded, and Crimson Clouds happened to receive this sword. It feels so fitting in their hands. Was it really just a coincidence, making Crimson Clouds unable to help but wonder? Willow-like waist and graceful lightness. successfully piercing the enemy's thigh once again. The murderer feels no pain at all, and sweeps out another blade wind, easily rolled up the plank bridge. And the target of this blade wind attack is actually Pierce Pei in the distance. This blow hits Pierce Pei squarely on the back, causing the plank bridge to shatter as well. Pierce Pei also falls into Heartbreak Lake. At this point, Pierce Pei's back is completely numb, gradually sinking to the bottom of the lake. Vision also starts to blur, as Pierce Pei's consciousness gradually blurs. A jade hand reaches deep into the lake and pulls Pierce Pei out of the water. The person who reached out to rescue was Yi Tassel Huang. Actually, Yi Tassel Huang had already regained consciousness earlier. It's just that his martial arts skills are mediocre. He was planning to seize the opportunity to attack that monster. At this time, Indigo was also saved by Yi Tassel Huang onto the small boat. Luckily, Pierce Pei was hit in the back. Plus, Indigo's body has always been much stronger than others, so there was no major issue. Yi Tassel Huang pointed to the pavilion at the center of the lake in the distance. The injured senior sister Emerald Lake is still in that pavilion. The second court master has been refusing to leave because of her. In the midst of the conversation, a burst of blade energy once again destroyed the floating bridge. The power of this monster is too strong. Not afraid of pain, this is not a sustainable way to continue. Pierce Pei and Yi Tassel Huang are discussing ways to save people. Pierce Pei thinks that although this monster is strong, it seems to have poor hearing. He will try to save Emerald Lake himself. At the same time, the killer shows no consideration for physical factors. With every move, the strange forceful chopping and striking makes Crimson Cloud's retreat step by step. Crimson Clouds also have to stay calm and focused. They wield a special sword in a reverse grip, waiting for the right moment to use softness to overcome hardness. Crimson Clouds analyze calmly. The person in front of them, Blade Energy, is indeed aggressive. However, the speed of their sword technique is not stable enough. There should still be a chance. But what exactly happened to Mr. Yi? At this moment, Crimson Clouds couldn't care much either. The phantom flickered. Once again, using the 13 stances of the green maple, the body flowed like water. Crimson Clouds risks his life. As long as he can avoid the assailant's blow, success is possible. The assailant once again swings with full force without reservation. The fierce blade wind brushes past the body of Crimson Clouds. Crimson Clouds wraps around the blade like a flowing stream, with movements that waste not even a bit of energy. Swinging gracefully, she flicks her wrist and raises the sword, which is like a powerful gust of wind. Green maple strike, the river stone shatters. This blow accurately pierced the assassin's arms, deathly sealed the monster's hands. At this moment, the monster's eyes were wandering, as if searching for something. Suddenly saw Pierce Pei preparing to rescue Emerald Lake at the pavilion in the center of the lake. Crimson Clouds also noticed the scene at the same moment. Suddenly, the murderer actually severed both arms, tearing flesh and bone. Swinging the giant stone blade in hand, the target was none other than Pierce Pei. Pierce Pei shouted, "Oh no!" and pushed Emerald Lake away. This blow broke the pillars of the pavilion on the lake. Pierce Pei took the opportunity to jump onto the trestle. Crimson Clouds also took the opportunity to leap up. He exerted force with his legs. The Mianzi Hawk used all his strength. The killer was also instructed to enter the pavilion in the center of the lake. With a loud noise, the pavilion in the center of the lake completely collapsed, burying Emerald Lake and the killer underneath. The second court master called out loudly for Emerald Lake, but to no avail. Just at that moment, Pierce Pei saw a flicker of shadow above the rubble. The crowd looked incredulous. Emerald Lake, who had been unconscious the whole time, actually stood up. And in their hand, they were holding the ominous giant sword. The Thunder God roared, and Emerald Lake seemed to go crazy, shouting, "Endless suffering!" The voice echoed in this Heartbreak Lake.